giving yourself to me can never be wrong.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, Facebook Live. Good morning. I am Kimberly Holmes Ross with Evanston Cradle to Career, where we work with over 40 partners for a more equitable Evanston. Happy Saturday. I almost forget what day it was, guys. Happy Saturday. We have been on the air for the last 3 days with the wonderful, wonderful community building summit. It has been wonderful. I'm here with some guests and some collaborators for the summit. But we're here this morning to talk about defunding the police. You know, every Saturday we bring you a different topic, a different guest, and this morning it's defunding the police. So I'm excited to learn. I've had to do some homework since the movement has started, and we are here today to really learn. I'm here to learn some more. So I have some special guests with us. I have our advocates here with us. Good morning, advocates. Good morning, guests. Good morning, Mr. Man. Mr. Man, I missed you this week. It is really difficult to produce a show and be in a show and direct a show. So I really appreciate you, Mr. Man. So thank you for having us this morning. We're going to get started. We're going to kick you right off. We have a half an hour. So we want to learn as much as we can. You guys share this video. Let people know we are on the air and we are ready to go. Okay. I'm going to hand it over to Glenn, our advocate Glenn. And Glenn, you're going to kick it off and you're going to ask the question. We have Daisy and Laura here with us from the Defund the Police group here in Evanston. And I'm going to take it away.
Hello. Thanks for coming to our guest. I was just, wanted to shed some light on people of color, and especially in our community, okay? And now the world understands inside look at the police brutality and how that is and how it affects people of color. People of color, every day we feel the sting of the whip and the nooses around our necks of our forefathers. So this is a cross that we bear every day. And in defunding the police, I'm wondering, people fear that, well, you defund the police, you're going to have anarchy and chaos. But how does that raise the consciousness to a level in the community where people can feel safe and secure knowing that these services are going to greatly enhance the Black and brown community that feels the brunt of the brutality?
Laura, Daisy, either one of you guys want to tackle that one?
Of course. Good morning, everybody. I'm Daisy, and Laura's here too. And that's a really good question. Sort of hard to answer without going into a broader sort of understanding of, I just want to quickly describe the work that we've been doing. So when the movement really regarding George Floyd and Breonna Taylor's murders at the hands of the police started gaining popularity in the media, and protests started erupting and things like that, there was a big call to defund the police. And after that, when I came back to Evanston in June from school, and I'm going to be here now for a couple of months. But basically, I was just like, okay, let me do some research on what's up with Evanston's police budget, because I know that they have a huge presence. You see them every day, you see them everywhere. And it's like, for what? It's Evanston. Like, why should we have, it's like worse than Chicago almost, with how much police we have per, inch going on in Evanston. And so after doing a little research, I was so shocked to see how much we fund our police. We fund them in our general fund expenses, which largely come out of our taxes. We fund the police 34%, community development 3%, parks and recreation and community services 10%, health and human services 4%. And so that was really shocking to me, because the way in which you stop crime and the way in which the root cause of crime is addressed is by addressing people's basic needs, right? Of having a roof over your head, having food in your fridge, having access to education or any type of other programming and things like that. It's those are the things that you need in order to have a safe community, right? And so I was just so shocked to learn that in a place as progressive as Evanston, we were funding 50 around, well, in total 56, but from our general fund, $39 million a year to the police. And so that was a really big shock to me. So since then, we've been working with different youth advocates who are from Evanston and interested in working on re-administering this budget and reallocating it, honestly, to the ways in which the community can have their needs better met, and also in ways that we don't use the police to deal with situations of homelessness, to deal with situations of mental crisis, to deal with situations of domestic violence and truancy. And so it's sort of it's a budget fight. It's a theoretical fight. It's it's definitely a conversation that's really important to have in Evanston.
Thank you, Daisy. And if you just joined us, we are here today talking about defunding the police. We're here getting a lesson from Daisy and Laura, who have been really active in this movement. I have to tell you, when the movement started, I was like, defund the police, what does it mean? We need the police. And Black and brown communities, we need the police. We are the ones who are using the services. And if they were to go away, I think when you hear defund, we wonder, what would happen? And as you research more, you can, we find out, well, reallocation and more services and more research and more resources. And I think I want to ask Laura, What do you think about the word? Because I know when it's radical and you think about defund and you want people to listen, because you certainly, your ears perk up. What does it mean, or what is the meaning behind defund, or you know, in your movement? And then I know it's a nationwide movement now, but is there a particular reason you're using defund?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And I think a lot of people ask that question. Also, sorry, my camera's not working because I'm on my phone. But anyway, yeah, so I think the word defund really stems from, as Daisy was mentioning, reallocating, right? Like defund doesn't mean abolish. And I think that's what a lot of people think. Ideally, like we would like to see more resources in the community, and we would like to look more through an abolitionist lens. But right now, defund strictly just means taking away the money that's going towards police, that's going towards the military and militarized weapons, and using those funds to put them in other organizations such as youth outreach, other things that tackle homelessness, things that tackle domestic violence. Like I've had many instances where I've needed to call a number that's not the police, and there hasn't been a number that's existed, right? Like there have been instances in the community, specifically in Evanston, where I've seen a girl who's drunk, for example, and who doesn't need the attention of someone with a gun. She needs the attention of someone who's going to get her home safely, or is going to ask her if she's okay, you know? And I feel like if we are only calling someone with a gun, that really invokes fear, not something that, or not someone that we would feel safe around. So I think that's really what the term defund means, is strictly just funding and putting more resources into other organizations that need them.
Thank you. Thank you. I want to jump. We have some people who joined us this morning. I see Dr. Logan, who's always faithful, who was part of our summit. He was our facilitator, and he was amazing, amazing. He worked with us all week and for the last couple of weeks, and Daisy and Laura were a part of that. Miss Betty was a part of it, so it was wonderful. Alderman Ann Rainey is with us. Thanks for watching, Alderman. My neighbor across the street is watching. Thanks, neighbor, and Nahama. Thanks, everybody, for joining. We are having a conversation this morning about defunding the police. It's important for our group as advocates to give everyone a voice, whether we understand it or we don't, whether we agree with it or disagree with it. We want everyone to have a voice. Everyone's voice is important. Everyone matters. So we are here today to learn. And if you have questions, we have Daisy and Laura here, and I think they're willing to take a shot at any questions. But I'm going to see if Trina has anything she wants to ask or add.
You know, I don't really have a question right now. I'm learning, because I've watched, been watching the news, trying to figure out, because like you all said, I was under the impression that it just meant like more police officers off of the street, you know, cutting salaries, all of that. So what the ladies have shared so far has given me a lot more knowledge about what it actually is. So I'm just processing right now.
And it's a lot to process, because the first thing you think is more officers off the street, and you think here in our own community with the recent violence, you think last weekend with the looting and all the things, you think, man, more police officers off the street. You know, what does that mean? What does that do for our society? What is the condition of everyone's thinking if we have that? But I really think, and I think it was Daisy who talked to me about reimagining what things could look like, and giving ourselves room to do that. So I'm really taking the time, I love that word, to reimagine how we'd want our world to look. Now, it'll take us some time to get there. And I love this generation, because like, we can do it, you know, where we're a little more cautious, saying, you know, well, wait a minute, we'll get there. But we can just reimagine what we ideally want our world to look like. So what about you, Ms. Betty? Do you have any questions?
Well, the question I have is what kinds of conversations, Daisy and Laura, have you had with anyone with the city of Evanston? What action steps? What's been feedback? If you could share some of that with us.
We have scheduled a meeting with the city manager to discuss the budget season, upcoming budget season. We've also worked with other organizations that do actions related to affordable housing, like Reclaim Evanston, as well as police oversight with Citizens Network for Protection. So it's been a lot of like sort of non-governmental avenues we've approached in order to like build better and broader coalitions of other folks who would, you know, be interested in reallocating funds towards other types of either nonprofits or organizations in Evanston that approach issues related to the police, but maybe in a better way, in a way that their budget is like not allowing them to fulfill in the as best as they can. And yeah, Laura, what other things am I forgetting?
Yeah, so as Daisy mentioned, we've been trying to focus more on coalition building and reaching out to different organizations that are doing similar work to us. We've also been attending more city council meetings. And, you know, I mean, we have a lot of stuff that we need to learn as well. So attending those meetings has been really helpful in terms of figuring out how the Evanston government works. So yeah, and publicly commenting is something that we've also been working on and trying to get other people in the community really involved in what the work that the city government's doing.
Okay, and are you guys, I really thought you were a subgroup of Fight for Black Lives for Evanston, and Daisy told me you weren't. So you guys are your own group. I've seen you down in front of the police station doing yoga, painting the streets. Tell me, who's in your group? Tell me, you're not a subgroup, or tell me a little bit about the group.
Yeah, so we are a separate group than Evanston Fights for Black Lives. Mm-hmm. We focus more on what policing in Evanston looks like and kind of centering the conversation around that. But I feel like Evanston Fights for Black Lives, they really tackle anything that has to do with the Black community. So yeah, we partner with them to do lots of events, but besides that, yeah, we're two separate groups.
Okay, so you're just supporting each other.
Right.
Perfect.
You know, Kim, if I might,
sure.
When we also have to really take note of a lot of the advocacy groups in Evanston that claim to be able to help in the community. They really do an inadequate job. So if we're going to be defunding anything and putting money into certain advocacy groups or coalitions, you know, we also have to look at their track record and if they were really effective in doing what they say they can do. Because a lot of these groups get money, they get support, and everything they do is in theory, and there's no real work, no footsteps on the ground, and you have to look for anyone that they've actually helped when you look at their executive costs and things like that.
Glenn, thank you for not tiptoeing around it, but it's absolutely true. There are a lot of groups who have been around for a long, long time. And if we are reallocating funds, are there any groups out there, and Laura and Daisy, I don't know if you know the answer to this, or are you building coalition with groups that you believe in that have good track records, or looking for groups that may do work? Because I think a lot of the community is disheartened by some of the work that's been done. It's hard to see some of the work, and Glenn just put it out there, you know, it hasn't been done. So are you guys looking into any of that as you do your research and while we reallocate, hopefully, some funds?
Yeah, I think actually a really good example of how that like coalition building has even started was yesterday's summit, like that online Zoom session where we heard from Miss Betty spoke about the REBA Early Learning Center and Evanston Cradle to Career. We also heard from the Moran Center, which does amazing youth justice work, connections for the homeless. Northwestern now has an outreach group, a couple more that I'm forgetting, but I think that that was like a really good, the YWCA and their domestic violence programs and things like that. But honestly, that's a very good, I like how you brought that up. You know, we have to check for their track records. We have to make sure that the money's going to a good place and things like that. But we also have to think about how the police are the ones who should have never been like dealing with this crazy amount of work from the get-go, right? Like, why do we trust the police as an institution to deal with homelessness, domestic violence, mental health, truancy? Like, you know, they are left with, due to our budgeting, like simply due to our budgeting, they are left with the burden of all of these different actions, which first of all, they're not the ones who should be doing it. Historically, the police are created, you know, to, they're not the ones who should be dealing with this stuff. And so it's going to take a lot of reimagining, right? Of like seeing the ways in which our community is, because it's like, honestly, through all this work, if I've learned anything, it's that Evanston is a really strong community. It's that people like Kimberly are organizing, you know, like these anti-racist summits to like get the youth involved. And it's that like your mom spoke to, and she's been a lifelong activist. It's that like the roots are deep in Evanston and people really care about their community and making it better. And I can only hope that through our work, we're able to see and like make defunding the police. See, it's again, like that's the first step, right? But it's also reinvesting in our communities. And I think that that's the part that nobody really wants to, like, not that nobody wants to focus on. It's the part that gets eclipsed by really inflammatory conversations about what do you mean you want to get rid of all the police, things like that. And I'm not going to lie, as like a white girl who lives in the 7th Ward, when, you know, a couple weekends ago, there were 2 tragic murders in Evanston. And it was like, who am I to advocate getting rid of the police when people, that's their only hope for getting justice at this moment in time. But it's definitely, you know, it's a gray area, and hopefully we'll be able to see much brighter areas and a much better vision and a better future once we start giving the people in our community who have done the work, who are committed to doing the work, you know, more money to like complete their vision. Like, I sort of want to ask this to everyone, all the advocates who are here, who work in different nonprofit sectors or who work in different like organizations. What would your experience be if your budget doubled? You know, like what can you imagine? Like, what would it look like if your budget was doubled?
Joanne, please answer that question, because that one's right for you. What would it look like if Family Focus budget? Ms. Joanne Avery is at Family Focus.
Family Focus, and another amazing organization. Sorry, right, I didn't add that one at first.
No, but she's right here with us. So what would you do? Thank you for that question. If you reimagined and had the budget today. There you go.
If the budget doubled, we can serve more kids. We can give more services to them. I mean, I have just a dream agency that we can have, and we're dealing with things on a shoestring, but we're doing it because you know we have to, and the community depends on us. But so many kids need our services, but we have a cutoff. We can't service everyone. So many people need food. So many people need clothing. You know, we have the donation room. But right now we're out of food because of what's going on with COVID. Don't have enough food. So we could do so much if our You could pay more people and have more staff. I'm it for the after school program. It's just me, no one else. So, yeah, I can reimagine family focus in so many ways.
I think we all can reimagine family focus with social workers and you know, more people available for families. You know, this is a long time Evanston institution that has been neglected. And Daisy, just like you said, reinvest in the community. Reinvest.
Exactly.
Advocates for Action, that is one. We have 5 goals, and that is, I believe, our top one: reinvesting in our community. You know, we want to take care of ourselves.
Exactly.
We want to take care of ourselves, but we need support to do that. So, Ms. Joanne, you came in on the right day. We missed you. We haven't seen you, but thank you for being here. We want to support Family Focus in everywhere we can. We need volunteers if you're out there.
Volunteers.
You know, we can volunteer in person, but right now you can volunteer virtually with the kids in tutoring because they go back to school soon.
Yeah.
And
another thing I want to say
too, how that works.
Another thing I want to say too, Kim, is mental health services for our families. We don't have that. We need that desperately. I can reimagine that whole building. Tear it down. Let's do something that's efficient for everyone. It could be a friendly building. So, you know, we're a lot more social service agencies there. But you got me thinking about reimagining, and I'm going to do that on paper. So thank you, Daisy.
You know, Daisy, you got me thinking too. I'm looking at, well, let's reimagine. Maybe let's start divesting and defunding in programs and systems that are already established in Evanston that aren't working. You know, let's defund, take away the problems that we're getting from the systems that are supposed to help us. Maybe we should defund that system. Maybe we should reimagine on just how we pay for things and how we structure things. Maybe the structure needs to be changed. Maybe we need to tear things down and build it back up to where they're really useful.
And like back to what Kim was asking us, right, about the ways we've approached this with the city government. And I mean, you guys know the city government more than I do. This has been eye-opening for me these past couple of months, but quite frankly, it is like, there's just a ghost of white supremacy there. Like, it is the racialized history of Evanston's past, like, and it is, you know, I mean, Rue Simmons and Cicely Fleming are such amazing, like, alderwomen who are really committed to doing the work, especially like Rue Simmons leading the reparations subcommittee and all of those initiatives is like, I am, you know, I'm always so, I love to see that in the news, and I'm always so proud to be an Evanstonian when I see it. But quite frankly, there's a couple people who are amazing, but it's still like what you're saying, it's part of a system, right? And that system clearly is not listening to what people have been saying, especially Black and brown people in Evanston. And I mean, like, I don't want to like, I'm not going to do anything rude here, but like Mayor Haggerty showing up to the anti-racist summit yesterday being like, don't worry guys, like change is coming. It's like, that's not what change is. Change is when we demand it and get it now. And it's when, you know, you start listening to the people who have been trying to demand it and who have been silenced perpetually by these terrible systems of like white supremacy, which clearly aren't serving the community. And it's difficult because honestly, like politics and like the interconnectedness of like all of the politics going on in the city government, it seems like, you know, that should be a drop in the bucket compared to like, you know, increasing Family Focus's budget, right? Like, help your community. It's really not that hard. Like, it's, but yeah, so the politics aspect has been very frustrating. If any of the advocates have experience with city government or advice, I would love it because, yeah, it's kind of hard to be committed to reimagining in Evanston when you also have a city government that's committed to getting reelected.
Well, and you, you know, Haggerty did show up. He was invited, and we need people like Mayor Haggerty to show up and listen, because
Definitely.
we have to have them listen and learn, and be open to that. And you know, so I do want to give him kudos for coming and to begin to listen. So we have to, you know, sometimes you got to get people on your train, and everybody's not going to be on the train, you know, and it's okay. But I'm glad that you have a platform and a place and opportunity, you know, to talk about your movement, to talk about, you know, what you guys believe in, and to let the community know. I'm glad we're here this morning to let the community know, because it is really about reimagining. We are at a moment in time where we need to reimagine a whole lot of things. Our education system, our justice system. I mean, I could go on and on. There needs to be a lot of reimagining done. So I think I'm going to really quick, because we're over just a little bit. Our half an hour goes really, really fast, but I want to go around really quickly in 1 or 2 words. I'm going to start with Miss Betty in the corner. I'm going to hit everybody and ask you one thing you'd like to reimagine here in Evanston. And if you're in the comments, please go ahead and write your comment down. I'm in the Evanston Cradle to Career live. But what would you like to reimagine here in Evanston, Miss Betty?
Well, I would like to reimagine. I was listening to Daisy and Laura, and I remember as a child, and for maybe some of you do also, that the perception of a police officer was officer friendly, and that you would be protected and you would be safe. However, for many of our communities, Black and Brown, that perception changes over time, and it is not a perception of friendliness. So reimagining, what does that look like? What does a police officer, what is their role in our community? So I'm just reflecting on how we could change that dynamic, because I know some amazing police officers, but there are some that are not so amazing as well.
So we want to do a reboot of Officer Friendly, and I'm gonna get you guys down to 1 or 2 words, because we're almost off the air. So a reboot of Officer Friendly. I love that. I had him too. Okay, Trina.
When I reimagine, I think about Black children getting a quality education.
I love it. Me too. Tawanda, what do you reimagine here in Evanston?
Being able to go out, take my kids out to the park, and just, you know, not having to look over my shoulder. You know, the
So
kids
safe.
here for safety.
Okay.
You know, they scared to go to the park because there's been so much shooting lately. So,
thank you for sharing that. Safety, yes, that's a big one. Glenn, what would you reimagine?
I like to reimagine inclusion and real equity in the city of Evanston.
Thank you. Daisy, what would you reimagine?
Reimagine a budget where millions of dollars are going to the people who, you know, are making programs to, I don't know, help the youth, help people in non-police alternatives, honestly, quite frankly. Millions of dollars to non-police alternatives.
Daphne?
What I would reimagine is brown and Black people living across the bridge by McCormick. More of us over there.
Okay. Tiffany, can you hear us? You want to reimagine something? Share? Tiffany's walking. I'm not sure if she can hear us. Marquise, I see your camera's off. You want to reimagine something with us? Are you with us this morning?
I am with you this morning. I'm sorry, my camera's not working.
No problem.
Good morning. But yes,
Good morning.
would love to reimagine solid resources for our young men starting from age 10 through 18, not starting at 18, because the crucial age for them to restructure themselves or to have a greater impact on them, I believe it starts at the age of 10.
Marquise, that's so important. I don't know if you heard her. Resources for young men starting at the age of 10, not waiting till they're 18 and out of school, but starting at the age of 10, maybe even with job and vocational skills and all kinds of supports. Marquise, that's super important. Thank you. Laura, what would you reimagine for Evanston?
Yeah, for Evanston specifically, I'd like to reimagine affordable housing and community development. I think it's so expensive to live in Evanston. So restructuring that whole division and making sure that people can actually afford to live here.
And Miss Joanne, last but definitely not least.
I want to reimagine basic life skills for kids. They don't have that. It's not taught in home sometimes. I'm not going to say everyone. And Marquise, I think it should start at 8 years old instead of 10. But that's my opinion. I started with you at 8.
You did. So you're right, Ms. Joanne.
And before we get up to air, I'm going to ask everybody in the audience, everybody who's watching now or watches later, to just think about what you'd like to reimagine for Evanston. I like to reimagine equity in Evanston, starting right here with us, and then we're going to move on out to the world. But I'd like to reimagine equity in Evanston. We thank you for joining us. Thank you, Laura and Daisy from Defund the Police. Thank you, advocates. We will be back here next Saturday morning at 10. Mr. Mann, thank you at La Difference Radio. I'm working on my. Have a wonderful and safe Saturday. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Copeland, and I'm 40 years old. I'm a working mom of 2 girls. I'm married, and I live here in Evanston, Illinois. I decided to become a member of Advocates for Action because I found that it was a really innovative way to get involved in the community, basically recognizing that as a citizen, you don't necessarily have to have a title or a leadership position to empower yourself and be an active voice and make change.
My name is Glenn Mackey, and happily married, and I'm a father of a daughter. Advocates for Action, I think, basically, to make it really simple, they're a group of concerned residents, citizens of Evanston, that have got together, organized ourselves, educated ourselves, and started a process of continuous learning and understanding and incorporating different ideas into our environment so we can start liberating people and educating people.
The approach that I wanted to have as it pertains to the model of training for Advocates for Action, we call it the 4 Ds. It is determine, develop, deploy, and deepen.
So the training with Pastor Dillard for me, I will say, was very interesting. I absolutely loved it. I look forward to my Saturdays, and I will go away, reevaluating some things.
What makes Advocate for Action different than any other group is that we have over 40 organizations that we partner with. more resources.
The issues that I'm excited to see the Advocates for Action help the city with is, frankly, issues that we're struggling with right now. And I think that, hearing the voices from a lot of people around this community will make sure that some of the social service programs and the really important youth programs that we have in the community are protected.
My vision is for this group to become a cohort.
My hope for the future of Advocates for Action is more members of our community will find their voice.
I'm an advocate.
I'm an advocate.
I'm an advocate. I'm an advocate.
I'm an advocate.
I'm an advocate.
I'm an advocate for action.
Listening to Evanston Cradle to Career Advocates for Action on Radio La Difference. Please tune in next Saturday for another show.